I think they have a very special gossip column in their hearts or in their mind for Riju Jhunjhunwala and I have seen that for 20 years.
Waking up from the second surgery in the evening and shouting. When I woke up, I was shouting and howling in pain. I had one thing very clear in my mind that मुझे कुछ question पूछना ही नहीं है. You keep hearing these one-line statement, life is short, enjoy it. But it's actually true, yeah. I mean, anything could have happened.
I didn't know what to expect when I invited Riju Jhunjhunwala on the podcast. Here is a man that I've known for many years as an entrepreneur, as a very popular social figure in Delhi, and someone who has political aspirations. What could this man, who seemingly had the perfect life, tell us about wellness? But in the summer of 2020, something changed. Riju had an accident that very nearly killed him. He came face to face with death. This is his story. Welcome to another episode of Voices in My Head. I'm your host, Yami Radhar. If you want to support me and the podcast, you can do that very easily by buying a copy of my book if you haven't already, by liking, sharing, and subscribing to this content. That helps me out a lot. And as usual, remember to keep sending in your feedback and get in touch with me any way you like. The conversation with Riju is coming up now.
But thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Brady. My pleasure.
And when I saw your, what your institute had put up, that video,
right?
I immediately, messaged you. I said, it's not enough. Those 3 minutes didn't do enough for me. I mean, I wanted to.
No, that they made also from the point of view of their own institute. I mean, showcasing their thing and everything.
I mean, I know, but it's still, I obviously, because I know you and I wanted to know, I think even if I saw this as someone who didn't know you as well as I do, I wanted to know more about that story.
Right.
So, and I also felt that a lot of people can get a lot of positive things from this and learn from that. And which is why immediately I messaged you. I said,
Right.
And I didn't have to beat around the bush and said straight
No,
away.
of course.
So how are you doing at the moment?
Good, yeah. I'm recovering. Basically, I'm standing now. I'm walking on my own. I have this stick that you can see behind. That stick I need to use for balance.
Right.
Left leg is 100% fine. Right leg is 70% there. So, I mean, I can stand everything. But, I mean, the ankle down of the right leg is still not fully healed. So, my ankle is still healing. Okay. The nerves are still regrowing. So there's constant pain over there. I mean, the pain ranges from 2 to 10 to 8 to 10, which is unbearable. Okay. But it's there all the time. Okay. And all the doctors who I speak to, A to Z, the best to the whatever doctors are saying like, we are very happy that you have this pain. We'd be rather worried if you did not have this pain because this is good pain. It means that your nerves are regrowing. And even if it's pain, the very fact that your mind is accepting those signals from there means your nerves are not cut off from there.
Okay.
So when the nerves finish growing, the pain will stop. Whether it's 6 months or 12 months, no one knows.
I assume you're using the walking stick to support the right leg from your right hand.
Mostly.
Because you can't put any weight on the right leg?
No, I can put. So right now when I was saying, if I'm in a secure environment, like I know my room, etc. and all, I walk without the stick. I can walk. It's not like a perfect walk the way I would want to. It's a limp and all of that. And you have to balance a little bit, but you walk. But if I have to walk for longer distances, like go out somewhere and all of that, obviously I use the stick there. But I can put full weight on the right side. That's not a problem. But yeah, one thing I need to be very, very, very careful is that the right ankle is not healed 100%. So I am okay. They are okay with me putting weight on that. But God forbid, if that ankle twists, because it's not 100% this thing, then you are, back to square one. I mean, imagine.
Are you wearing some sort of a brace or some special shoes or something?
I'm not wearing when I go out in the evenings. I have two things. One is a full brace, which protects the whole ankle and the foot. So it gives you like stability into your entire foot.
It won't twist then.
It won't twist. And second is just a long, this thing called the ankle, active ankle. So the job of that does not support your foot from below. That just supports you from the front to make sure that your even if I try, then my foot cannot twist. But I don't wear it all the time because it's a bit uncomfortable and all, then you have to start walking without that. They say you have to find a fine balance, because if you keep walking with that, your muscles will not get used to walking without that.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a thing, but managing.
But I think it's great to see you, if I can call this in person, because I think part of me actually thought that I would never see you again. Maybe a lot of people thought that, and I'll come to that a little later.
Right.
And I think it's just great. I think it's just great to see you back to being normal, whatever the new normal is, or whatever being back to life here is. And we just started on this thought, but I think a lot of people may not know what you've gone through and what happened. And in fact, even some of the details are sketchy. So I just want to ask you that. So what happened? You had an accident. Is that what happened, or can you just describe?
So I basically, let's call it an accident.
And when was this?
This was on 29th of July.
Right.
So exactly on the night of 29th of July.
2020, right? 2020.
Yeah, 2020. So I'd gone to some friend's house and all of that. There were 5-6 of us. And after that, I came back home. And I literally fell off the first floor balcony.
Right.
Don't ask me how I fell off, but I fell off the first floor. This thing, so it was a small railing. I was maybe sleepwalking. I was walking towards. There was no one else, so I fell down. I came back home. I slept at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
But I have fallen down at 5 o'clock. Apparently, I was standing in the balcony with the phone in my hand.
Right.
And the guard was telling me, Babu, thoda piche ho jao. But I don't know what happened. So apparently, I fell off the first floor balcony at 5 in the morning. Thankfully, the next thing I have even a faint memory of is at 11 o'clock the next night, waking up in the ICU of the hospital with my hands and all pinned down, and I was just shouting left, right, and center, what are there? Foul abuses, this, that, and all, because I had no idea what's happened. And suddenly, then I saw my mom, couple of my friends, my wife, and all of them, standing there. Then I realized that something has happened. Then things started coming back to my mind, and they just rushed me into the OT that time, operation theater.
Okay.
It was just before. So they probably kept me sedated the whole day, because apparently when I fell down, first I went to the PSRI hospital, where they did my X-ray, and they found out that I have broken my L2 spine completely.
Right.
L2 spine was completely broken. It was some I'm forgetting the medical term right now. I needed an immediate surgery. So to stop the blood loss and all of that, and secondly, to fix the spine.
Okay.
And those particular materials and all, whatever, were only available that particular point in time at Medanta Hospital.
Okay.
And then apparently I was taken to Medanta, where they prepared all of this. So,
so you woke up about 18 hours after your fall or something like that?
Yeah. So after
you woke up, did you feel like you've gotten up for a dream, or like somebody's kidnapped you, or you just decided?
That's why I was shouting. I cannot put a thing on it. It was just some kind of feeling that I knew something has gone very wrong in my head, because I knew something had gone very wrong where I'm seeing all these people. But at that time, I know this thing, and immediately 10 minutes after that, I was given the anesthesia and taken into the operation theater and given the anesthesia. So then, when I finally woke up, it was
sorry to interrupt, but before they did that, did they tell you that there's been an accident? Did you have time to kind of process that? Or
Yeah. No, so there's been an accident, you'll be okay, don't worry. And I'm just shouting, leave me, I want to leave from here, I want to go from here. All those things I'm shouting. So then my next proper sane memory is waking up in the ICU of Medanta at, let's say, 7 o'clock the next morning.
Okay, right.
When the doctors came, my family came. After the surgery was done.
Right.
And obviously, I must be an insane amount of painkillers at that point in time. So then they told me that you fell down the balcony. And believe you me, till date, everyone says, how can you not remember and all? I do not remember how I fell down.
Of course.
But obviously I fell down.
No, but I don't think that's.
So
I think anybody in your instant would not remember. A lot of people would not remember.
Luckily, apparently, I fell down the first floor on my back, and there was a car parked. My dad's car was parked under my balcony. So I hit the car.
Right.
And then I rolled down niche. So obviously
the car broke your fall. The car saved you.
Otherwise, it would have been falling on concrete. That would have been, anything could have happened. Anyways, long story short, after that, they told me that, ऐसे हुआ है and तुम्हारा spine को totally we fixed it up and now your spine is stronger than ever and all of that. And you'll be fine again, you'll be fit again and all of that. But when I was seeing everyone's faces and all that, something was seeming amiss.
Yeah.
And I could not feel anything weighs down. I could not feel anything. Like I could not, if I would touch my feet, it's as good as having nothing. So then, dheere, what happened? Dheere, they broke the news to me that, your L2 is fractured. Because L2 gets fractured, the nerves get broken. And because the nerves get broken, your feet are temporarily paralyzed and all of that. But it'll get okay. So from ICU, moved to the normal room after 2 days. My entire family was there, and I was not in a mental state to ask too many. There was too much pain, obviously.
Yeah.
Too much pain and agony. I didn't know what was happening, and you have no control over.
And the painkillers obviously take over the brain. So
brain, and the worst thing is that you're frozen below your waist down. You have no control. So when I say no control, everything is on autopilot. Whether it is your bladder, catheter motion, all of that. So it just gives you a disgusting feeling. Anyways, that happened. I was there for 7-8 days in Medanta. And then my dad, brother, wife, mom, all of them were having a lot of conference calls parallelly to doctors in US, here, there, and all that, because it was a very complicated issue. After that, so they told me that, you'll need long physiotherapy. But obviously, India being India and doctors being doctors, they don't give you all the bad news in one go.
Right.
Doctors will say, 2 हफ्ते में ठीक हो जाओगे, भाग रहे होगे, ये होगा, वो होगा, and all. So I was never prepared. Then I went back home in an ambulance. I thought I'm home now, finally, I'll recover whatever time it takes. I reach home in the morning, and that very night, the whole family comes and tells me that, okay, we've spoken to enough doctors, you need to have a second surgery, and you choose when you want to have it. So what do you mean second surgery? Why second surgery? I've just gotten that. Abhi I'm laughing at it, but at that time it was so traumatic to think that I have a second surgery. They said that, we've spoken to all doctors in the world. A second surgery is normally always needed for a nerve decompressing thing. And this surgery, take your own sweet time. There's no hurry for it. I said, okay. Anytime in the next 1 week. So what the hell do you mean? You think there's no hurry?
I mean, that's immediate.
Immediate. I said, I want to go tonight. I started throwing a tantrum, lying down. I want to go tonight. And all that. They spoke to the doctors at Gangaram. Next evening, depressing this thing again. Wheelchair. 5 people are taking me on a stretcher. And at that time, stretcher mein dal rahe ho, itna bhi tum hil rahe ho. So it is like, you cannot imagine that 1 week in hospital in Medanta also, they used to take me for the CT scan and all of that. And that time, even this much of movement they used to do for me. And I used to be howling in pain.
Right.
Then they took me to Gangaram. We checked into the room, this thing. That whole night was miserable, could not sleep, corona test, this, that and all. Next day morning, I had my second surgery. I remember waking up from the second surgery in the evening and shouting. When I woke up, I was shouting and howling in pain because I don't know, that probably didn't give me enough. Then I could just hear one doctor say, morphine, more morphine. And my wife was there, Amrita was there. I'm like, kill me. I can't take this pain because it was really like some mad shooting pain.
Yeah, I can understand.
Then they put some more morphine or something. And I had the best sleep of my life for that after that for 3-4 hours, because then the pain disappeared. Obviously, I must have given me something really strong. I remember those 4 hours, Yamir, you will not believe me, it sounds very filmy. I was just seeing white bubbles all over. Like I was sleeping, but I was dreaming about all the right things. Because this is pending at my work, that is pending, mujhe ye karna hai, wo karna hai. my family, my wife, my child, my this, that. Like my life was going through some kind of because of the morphine, obviously, those 3 hours. Then I woke up, obviously ICU, Gangaram, what you can imagine, chota sa hoga. All okay, massive pain because they did the second surgery through here, from your stomach. They cut a hole in the stomach and they went to your spine and put something called nerve decompressant.
Okay.
All that thing happened. Second day in a lot of pain. The doctor who had done my surgery came the next day, the next morning. I was hoping that, it's good news now that, surgery. He's telling me, Doctor Saab, now tell me now, you'll be fine. But even if you're not fine, how does it matter? Nowadays, you go to America, you can get a whole supporting, I remember his words, you get this whole supporting device where your leg can move mechanically. Even if one leg never moves, second leg can move. You have these agencies in Singapore who can design your whole house, where even if you can't walk, you can do this. Then he's giving me some example. Look at Christopher Reeve, who was Superman. He was paralyzed for 40 years. He spent $400 million, yet he could not do anything. So it doesn't matter.
That has to be the most depressing thing
I'm
ever.
like, he's done my surgery. He's telling me this, something has gone wrong. I started questioning my entire family. What the hell has happened? They all reassured me that your surgery has gone well here. Speak to the other doctor who was there. Do not worry. That's just the doctor's way of talking. After 2 days of ICU, I was moved to the Nichewala regular room, where I stayed for 1 more week. That was probably the worst time in this entire thing.
Okay.
Because then we were deciding what to do, where to go. Then my parents and wife, brother, all of them shortlisted this place in Switzerland, the video that you're talking about.
Yeah. What is this place called again? Is it called?
It's called Cerenio, Cerenio. It's a classic nerve rehabilitation center. So most of the patients there are the elderly patients who've had nerve strokes and all of that.
Right. But they specialize in nerves.
Specialize in nerve rehabilitation.
Okay.
So how to, not like a fracture physio, so hardcore physiotherapy, but only for nerve damages.
Okay.
So then we decided that I have to go there. And when do I have to go? They said you have to come ASAP. Anyways, I went home after 2 weeks of Gangaram. I was home for 15-20 days. Horrible time because you're lying down over there. At that time, both my legs were like this. And I remember after 1 month of the first operation, the toe of my left foot started moving like this. I shouted, it's moving. The entire family came. It was like some celebratory occasion and all of that. Then I realized something is really wrong with me. If everyone is so happy at my toe moving, I don't know what they've been told and they will not kind of, tell me. But everyone was very supportive and all. So finally, and that was peak of Corona time. You had to be very careful, no friends allowed, no nothing and all. Then we said, when I had to go to this center setting, we had to be quarantined 14 days. So my brother and I, and attendant who's been with me till now from day one, amazing guy called Robin. And so 3 of us went in an air ambulance because obviously I could not even move to Zurich. From there, we went to this center, which is like a 1 hour drive. Amrita, her mom, and Jawahar and the maid, they came after 10 days of reaching over there. So they took an apartment.
So all this time, the pain is still continuing. You're still in a lot of
unbelievable pain.
And you were given, were you on some sort of regimented painkiller thrice a day?
Yeah.
And that wasn't helping either, or only a little bit?
Painkillers, some nerve medicines to make sure, even though they did all CT scans first day, that there was no clot in the brain with the fall.
Right.
But to be on the safer side, they have to give you 15 days of medicine so that there's no convulsion or something like that.
Okay.
So painkillers and all continued. And then I started my physio over there.
Right.
So I'll send you pictures later after we are done. I have a whole this thing of, from day one, how I reached there to,
that will be interesting. Yeah, I can maybe share that as part of the podcast.
4 to 5 hours of physiotherapy every day. You are lying down, then you have to transfer onto a wheelchair. That whole thing of lying down to sitting down on a wheelchair would kill you because of the back pain. Then make you do physiotherapy, starting little bit this, that, and all kinds of stuff.
So
And
the pain you're saying was in the back. You couldn't feel anything in the legs.
Back, legs also, but legs I could not feel any pain.
Only the little bit of the toe had started.
Except for when we reached Switzerland, we realized that my left foot is also fractured.
Okay.
Because it was hurting, but we never caught it on time. So it was properly fractured.
So the left foot had been fractured from day one,
yes,
which nobody picked up after 2 surgeries and 2-3 fancy hospitals. And that says something about our
not really, because first one I don't know, second May, Gangaram we picked it up kind of, because it was hurting so badly all the time. And something is wrong for sure. We just thought it was ligament tear, a proper fracture.
Or they were too focused on your main injury area than to worry about.
Then they could not make me do a lot of physio because I could not put any weight on my left foot also. It was a very slow process, but they have a lot of these machines and all which make you do stuff, all of that. So 3 months of hardcore physio, but I can say that the place was beautiful. My parents also visited in between for 20 days. And Amrita, Jawahar and my mom-in-law, they were visiting me almost every day. So for the first 2 months, I was not going out of the center at all because of the pain. But the last month, Corona was also a little this. So we've gone all over the place on my wheelchair. So I bought an electric wheelchair.
Right.
And the thing in a place, Switzerland and all, you could be sitting wherever. I'm in a watch showroom in my electric wheelchair and I don't feel awkward.
Right.
You're going anywhere, in any restaurant, you're just sitting over there and all of that. So I started going out quite a lot and the doctors were encouraging it. But by that time, what happened, my left foot started healing a lot. My left side really picked up fast because the more of my damage was on the right side.
Okay.
One more thing, it's little this thing. So after I reached Switzerland, after 15 days, I was very irritated with this catheter. Because I'm like, everything is okay, but I can't have this external device attached to my body. It just feels, disgusting. So I said, take it out. My brother started freaking out. No, you can't take it. This, that, and all of that. I said, why? Then he told me that the doctors had apparently said that this is going to be the last function that will come back.
Right.
And it could take as much as 12 months. And this was month 1, month 2. I'm like, dude, if I have to stay like this for 10 months, I'll die. I said, take it out, we'll try. They said, okay, we'll take it out, but it's a painful process to put it back and all of that. And you won't be able to and all. I took it out and do touch wood. That day till today, there was no issue.
Okay.
There was no issue. I had full control on my bladder, this thing, everything. So that one problem was a big mental this thing.
So you crossed that.
In the center, there were a lot of things motivating. Every day we were trying something new. Unbelievably friendly staff. Amazing.
So I understand that this was a huge leap to reach Switzerland in the first place. But what was the mindset before? While you were in India, what was your? What were your thoughts? Was this that this is like I'm never going to come back from this, or was it always that no, I have to come back? Because I remember seeing your from day one, anything that when you were partially sober enough to put out a tweet, which was also garbled, I knew, because I said this has to be that he's full of morphine or whatever. Because obviously,
that was one day.
Okay. So I knew that this was it was all very positive, and I also understand that from for what you do and your aspirations, you also have to project positivity, if I can say that, even if maybe inside you are not feeling positive.
No, I understand what you mean.
So,
so what I'll tell you is that, bro, I'll tell you one thing that I think in hindsight that I did right. If you ask me, what's that one thing that you did right? Obviously, anyone will say motivation, hard work, and all. Hey, that's a given. Without that, nothing can happen. But the one thing that I did right, I asked no questions. Everyone in my family is very shocked that you're such a curious human being. Otherwise, if you're at a party, if you're sitting, your ears are everywhere, you want all the gossip, you want to ask all questions and all of that. But on your own thing, you were never asking the doctors any question. Boss, when will I get okay? When will this happen? Because I had one thing very clear in my mind that मुझे कुछ question पूछना ही नहीं है. I said, जो जैसा है वो है. Whatever they are asking me to do, physio, medicines, this, that, I'll keep doing. Because if I hear anything negative, like for example, if I had heard that time that for 12 months he may not be able to walk, or like you are saying at the beginning of this thing that you are happy to see me right now.
I
you had
honestly,
a thing that you might not see me at all. So a lot of people now, everyone was told that, it's a nervous thing. We can't give any guarantee. Maybe he never walks again. Maybe
because when I first fight,
we don't know what the damage to the brain would be. So my
I
thing was,
Riju's had an accident and it's critical.
Yeah.
And, that it was peak of Corona time. Every day we were getting bad news about some family member or the other. And I was like, your brain that time, even peak Corona mode, I was like, he's dead. He's dead. I said, this is, I think 2020 is a year, it's a year of bad news. And it's just.
So I never asked any question that I didn't want to hear an answer to. मुझे सुनना ही नहीं था कि तुम्हारा ये हो सकता है, वो हो सकता है, and all of that. I'm like, जो करना है करो, स्विट्जरलैंड जा रहे हैं, वहां जाके देखा जाएगा, one step at a time. So I just took one day at a time. I did not. My thing is, as a person, I'm very.
To be really walked down and depressed, then when
Yeah. So my wife, for example, she and my brother were talking and all of that. No. He has to go see. We have to get a good psychiatrist to see him because at that time you need. I told them, boss, if I need, I'll tell you. My psychiatrist is my phone. If I'm tweeting, if I'm chatting with my friends on WhatsApp, everyone has a different release mechanism or a defense mechanism, whatever you want to call it. For some people, all that works. Talking to a psychiatrist, she'll motivate you. No, look forward to life. Ye wo. मुझे वो सब चीज से somehow I've never respected that. I've never enjoyed that. For me, I'll be much happier. I'm on 10 WhatsApp groups with my friends. At that time, if I'm lying down in hospital, if I'm chatting with them as if I'm normal, that would be a bigger motivator. Then if I'm talking to my office guys for 1 hour also in that state and talking about work, that's a bigger motivator.
Okay.
I'm tweeting what you said. I'm tweeting stuff that, so the reason why I'm tweeting all that also is that I'm putting pressure on myself purposely.
I understand. Yeah.
That, you said now that this is your image, this is you to the world, and you have to be this in real. So I call it whatever. I mean, these are just mind games that I'm sure you have ways to play games with your mind, how to convince, how to remain motivated, how to not go into depression and all of that.
Yeah.
There were a few days when a couple of medicines were really reacting badly.
Sure.
So I stopped them, spoke to the doctor. They said, this can have a negative impact and all of that. So, but I can tell you, there is not one day that I have been depressed. Obviously, you've had sad days when but somehow this has been a good revelation to me about myself also, that it's been now 7 months. I am not feeling bad.
Yeah, I mean, you've answered so many of my questions already.
Sometimes it's annoying. Like right now, what I have is the only pain I have now is in my right foot.
Which
as I'm talking to you, there is pain, which is like as if someone's passing electricity through it, as I told you.
Okay.
And all the time. And night, it becomes terrible. So that's the only thing I'm frustrated and angry about. I am not even frustrated about the fact that right now, I will take 10 minutes to walk down from my office room to the car. It's okay. I've accepted that for the time being. Jab theek hoga, tab hoga. I'm doing everything. My life has I've never worked out a day in my life. I've just been lucky that I've had good metabolism, whatever and all, and I've not put on weight, but I've never worked out. But last 1 year, I had really started golf. Okay. A lot of golf. I had started waking up at 6 in the morning every third day and all of that. Evening walks, little better food and all of that. So you miss that. But apart from that, I don't think my life has been more regimented. I mean, in Switzerland, I was doing 4 to 5 hours of physiotherapy every day. And I was not used to it. A person who's not gone to the gym. It was very annoying, exercise kar rahe ho, thak rahe ho and all. But then they told me something this thing in Switzerland, that please understand, Riju, this is not something which will solve itself. If you're thinking that this is some kind of a flu or fever or something, that you lie down and let 3 months pass by and you'll slowly become okay, it is not going to happen. The first 6 months after an injury like this is when your nerves can grow back the most.
Right.
80% of your recovery that you have to get to is going to happen in the first 6 months. And that can only happen if you work extremely hard. Otherwise, if you lose those 6 months, your body gets used to lying down, your nerves don't grow. It's all a very, scientific thing, whatever the way they explain and all. So long story short, they told me very clearly that this is not something which will solve itself.
Okay.
कि आप लेटे रहो, आपका पेन तो कम हो जाएगा 3 महीने बाद, बैक पेन लेट के. Your pain will only increase if we make you do these exercises, but it is something that is necessary. It will not solve itself, whether you lie down for 1 whole year also. And then you'll permanently be someone who cannot do. So your 80% recovery we have to achieve in the first 6 months.
Right.
So I got motivated with that. I'm like, there's no point feeling sorry for yourself. And somewhere, I blame myself for the fall also. It is not that, if someone else would have pushed me, or I would have just fallen when I was in full senses or something, I would be irritated with life. That why the hell did it, happen? Right. I know deep inside that I was responsible for the fall. Whatever I did wrong and all of that, I was responsible for the fall. Whether it is sleepwalking, I had too much to drink the night before, I took some sleeping pills to sleep, they reacted badly. I woke up, I don't remember sleepwalking from here to there. I stood on the balcony, I fell down. Somewhere, I blamed myself, I didn't blame any other one. So I'm like, this whole blame for this entire thing is myself. What my family, friends, all of them are going through, it's all because of me. So that guilt somewhere said, that was motivating for me. Yeah, boss, I've done this to myself and to all my family, my kid, my friends, all of them. Even if no one is directly involved, I'm the sufferer. But everyone was suffering. No, it broke the whole environment of the house. Everyone was involved in some for the other and all of that. So that guilt was also there in my mind. That was, I've really screwed up by doing this, even if it's bad luck, and I have to make it up. And the only way of making it up is to get better. When they see me good, they see me happy, they see me motivated, and me getting better. That's the only way this thing. So the recovery first 3 months was very fast in Switzerland. The doctors were amazed that we are seeing great results. So it was a luck also, I would say, the right center, finding the right center, and of course, hard work by the doctors and by me.
Right.
So by the time those 2.5 months were complete, they were very, very happy with the progress. And in this thing, one very good thing is that jitna aapki recovery ho gayi, you cannot go back in that. That they told me ki whatever you keep recovering, this is not something like, good day, bad day. It can only get better.
Okay.
So ऐसा नहीं है कि आपकी नर्व मूव, आपका ये लेफ्ट पैर में मूवमेंट चालू हो गया है, तो हो सकता है 2 दिन बाद वो मूवमेंट रुक जाए.
Right.
That is not the case. So that's a very satisfying thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That that you're not going to lose anything. You're only going to make
the gains are there to stay. There are so many learnings from what you're saying. I'm sorry to interrupt, and I don't want to lose that thought, and I just want to reiterate it for people who are listening, is that one is, it's very difficult, but you did it. You are taking complete responsibility for what happened, even though even you don't know the full picture of what actually happened.
Yeah.
I think that's huge, and I think we all need to learn from that. Second is, you never asked any questions, and if I was in your position, I would have to, literally, you put your life in the hands of all these people, doctors, and that you're trusting your family to make the right decision. Only then can you not ask questions. When you know that, my life is in there.
See, I wasn't in a mental state that time. So, for example, we had a discussion that, there's this one institute in Chicago, there's one institute in Germany, and there's one in Switzerland. So which one would you want to go to? So I remember having all those discussions and all of that.
So the good Marwadi chose Switzerland.
No. So, you know what happened? Chicago one was clear. The hypothesis was that Chicago one is very cutting edge technology. So if it was this kind of a thing in which your nerves were damaged forever, you needed some stem cell research or some new kind of technology, then that was the place to go to. What I was told that in my case, you need textbook physiotherapy. Day in, day out, 5 hours of the same thing. Same exercises every day for 5 hours for the next 3 to 4 months. And uske liye they said that this particular place in Switzerland is actually the best. And as luck would have it, I mean, I love Switzerland. Every holiday I've taken in the years before, in the last 10 years with my wife, with my son, we've ended it in that area of Zurich, Lucerne, where I happen to go.
Right.
I love all the Shah Rukh Khan songs, going in the car, this, that. So that's my this of Switzerland. And it just so happened that I got to go to such a place. So I loved it. I mean, you cannot imagine the view from there every morning.
I saw some pictures on Instagram. Yeah, I
had a couple of my DJ friends, DJ Khushi, DJ Gaurav. So I used to be sitting idle all day. I made a whole list of songs that can you mix this and send to me. And you know, they sent that whole list to me. I would just hear that on my iPhone because nothing else to do. I used to love that, looking at the mountains, having coffee, even if you're in a wheelchair. You know, you kill your time accordingly. Those guys, I kept asking them that, this is your work. How much would you charge for this? Yeah, nothing for you, no ways. We want you to go get well. So, you know, there's a lot of people, a lot of friends, family and all, good wishes. 24/7, I would be on my phone. Everyone would be wishing well. And I really realized at that point in time, you know, that whatever, at least this thing is, I do carry a large amount of goodwill in my friends and well-wishers who are genuinely very, very upset.
Right.
Everyone dikhaos, you know, ye ho gaya and all. And gossips, something happened. All that is okay. I don't give a damn about. But I was very touched by the fact that everyone I knew was caring about this thing. And
so this obviously helped. There was a huge support group around your friends and family.
And you make an image for yourself on Instagram or this thing, like you said, a larger than life, this thing, andar se dukhi bhi ho, to bahar se aise dikha rahe ho ki as if, you know, I'm doing this and that. So then you have to live up to that expectation. So I think if you ask,
you could do that, but believe me, I know enough people.
It may sound frivolous. Yeah. It may sound frivolous, but my psychiatrist or my motivator, like you have, some people could be motivated by religion. Some people could be motivated by spirituality at that point in time. My wife, Amrita, for example, I mean, she took a lot of clue from your podcast, and she got so influenced by this thing.
I know she's having eyes. Wim Hof.
She was telling me that she started doing that in Switzerland, those eyes, this thing. She's saying because she was really tense. And she took on a lot to spirituality, looking at the sun, doing that. And she used to push me to do that. And I've had long arguments with her. Now, this does not work for me. And I promise you, if it did work for me, why would I not try it?
Right.
I mean, different things work for different people. I said, as frivolous as it may sound, to me, putting up an image of myself in front of others and then living up to it works best. So that's my challenge.
Yeah.
Because now 10 people are telling you that, Riju, you are doing so well, you are doing so well. Now I can't not do well.
Yeah. You have to continue that momentum.
Whatever it is, I mean, this was my way of motivating. One great thing, I mean, my office work, except for the first 1 month.
Right.
I mean, I made sure that I am in every meeting that I was supposed to.
Right.
Things had already started happening on Zoom. So I used to wake up at least 3 times a week at 5 o'clock in the morning in Switzerland.
Wow.
Because there's a 4-hour time difference. So in India, the meetings used to be 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever. And I could not do it later because I had my physio. So the only time I could catch with my office is, let's say, 5 to 7 in the morning.
And you did that, right?
I did that at least 3 times a week and became super active. I don't know, something, because that was my only outlet at that point in time and only focus. And things were very bad for the company at that point in time because of the whole Corona thing.
Right.
You know, when coronavirus happened, we are in the textile industry, what I look after, labor intensive. So suddenly you have to shut down 7 plants, retrench all the labor, salary cuts, all the bad things. And then what happened was, around September, October, when I was recovering, earlier on I used to be lying down on the bed and doing a Zoom call with my office people. Right. Then I recovered to, you know, sitting on the wheelchair and then doing. Then once in a while, you know, not standing, I could not stand at all till then. Sitting on the wheelchair and doing this thing, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. So my recovery curve was kind of following the company recovery curve also. Because September, October onwards, something just happened that textile industry also started picking up on the whole. Okay. So the level of motivation and the closeness that I formed, the bonds that I formed with my office guys in this time was just tremendous. Firstly, they were also very motivated that, you know, despite this happening, I am giving it 100% in terms of physical presence in all the meetings and mentally, being present, being up there more than what I had done before probably. So the whole team got supercharged. I got supercharged. So these were just few things. I used to keep myself entertained all the time with this thing. I did a lot of cooking.
Right.
We had a kitchen over there. So I wheelchair mein jaake, fun cooking this thing with my son, with my wife. My mother-in-law is a great cook. Every day she used to send food. So you found these ways of this thing. Obviously, it wasn't the most happy this thing, but the last 1 month, I have great memories of. I mean, if you tell me that next year, let's assume there is no corona, my feet are totally fine. If I go for a holiday again to that area, I would love to go and spend 5 hours in that institute again, meet everyone.
Yeah.
Because I only have genuine good, happy memories. Even though the first 2 months were so full of pain,
right,
and agony that you cannot imagine. But the last 1 month, we made the most of it. There was snow, there was this, you were going to Luzerne. I was buying a watch myself, we were buying toys for my son and everything. So listening to music, doing office work. So it all became very, very good. Then how it got over, then we came back to India.
How much of this are you see? I mean, do you consider this what the accident you had a near-death experience? And if so, I mean, they say near-death experiences, change a man's perspective. Life is a second life. Do you consider it to be that?
100%, I would say, because if from 5 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock in the night, I've not woken up, it is a near-death experience. And apparently my fall was on L2, which got completely shattered and broken. They say if it is like L1, which is the one level above, that starts affecting you waist up.
Right.
Sar ke upar girte, you could be brain dead.
Yeah.
Yes, spine is such a thing. There's millions of nerve endings, what gets cut, what gets not. So this is as near to death as one can probably come. And I'll tell you, without any drama, that 2 hours of morphine at Gangaram Hospital, after that really changed my mindset. I was in the first 12 days of depression. After my this thing, it was real depression.
Right.
But I don't know what chemical they gave me in that morphine or something, only for 3 hours.
No, it's the morphine. You don't need any other chemicals. Morphine
only
is
for 3 hours. After that, they're not. But on those 3 hours, I had those revelations, like you're saying, near that experience. I just decided that time, and I'm one of those kind of people that, boss, snap out of it. You feeling bad for yourself is not going to make you better. So, aaj ke baad, just be jovial and say, screw it. Jo ho gaya, I will just get better. So after that, I have done a lot of things in terms of, I'm really grateful. My views on religion have not changed. My wife and all keep trying to convince me that, at least now you should believe in God. I've been an atheist forever.
No, but I don't think God has saved you. Let's be honest.
God pushed me. I would argue with you if you say that God saved you. Maybe I can argue with you that God is the one who pushed me, if there is any God. So there is nothing. I still do. But yes, I'm a clear believer now that, dude, life is short. You keep hearing these one-line statements, life is short, enjoy it. But it's actually true, yeah. I mean, anything could have happened. Anything could have happened. So, you have gratitude to people who are close to you, your friends, your family, everyone. And just try to be a better version of you. So I'm like, now, I'm very clear. I'm very focused, much more focused on work. I'm much more focused on every evening I'm meeting some friend or the other, catching up with people who I've lost touch with in the past, spending family time.
I think you have an alternate career in becoming a wellness guru, because there's nothing that, you have, I think, given more gyan in this podcast. And there's so much that so many people are going to get out of this and learn. And I also wanted to ask you, which wasn't really on my agenda, but because you opened it up by saying a few things, is that, and I don't know if that's a Delhi thing, you're a popular, well-known person here. People really love to talk about you in particular. I think they have a very special gossip column in their hearts or in their mind for Riju Jhunjhunwala, and I have seen that for 20 years since I've known you, or maybe I've known you longer than 20 years. So I'm also trying to come on to a lighter note from all the amazing stuff that you have shared. But I really wanted to always ask you this: why do people love talking about you so much? And it's good and bad. And obviously you know that when there's gossip, it's never all good. It's not what a big hero Riju is, because you get to hear enough of that.
See, let's be clear. We all live in Delhi, like you said. If someone else had fallen down like this and gone to hospital, I would also be gossiping about them. ऐसे हो गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. And thing is, I mean, I used to hear all these gossips in the first 10 days and not too many people. Then I started asking my friends on the group, guys, what is it that you've heard? I need to know. What is it? So someone said that he had a fight with his father that day. So the best thing when my dad comes to me, and you can say this, it's a lighter word. My dad is, he's not social media savvy and all that. So delete all it, because my dad and I had some small work argument that day when this happened. I said, listen, have you heard this gossip? I said, what? And then you close your phone, this, that, and I need to tell you something important. I said, kya ho gaya, Papa? I thought it's something to do with my health. He says, no. People have been talking in Delhi that you and I had a fight, and because of that, you tried to commit suicide.
Right.
So this is this thing. So अगर उस दिन का कोई भी अपना argument हुआ है छोटा मोटा भी, तो phone से delete कर दो, because जिसका मैंने कहा, Papa, please relax. I started laughing that time. I said, I have heard what all gossips, that I was standing with 3 of my friends and one of them asked me to fly, and I gave a challenge and I flew down.
I heard that one. I heard
I had a fight with my wife. I tried to commit suicide. I'm like, guys, the only part I'm hurt about over there, seriously, is that if people actually think I'm that stupid to try and commit suicide from the first floor, that hurts me. I mean, that hurts me a lot. That really hurt me a lot. That really hurt me, honestly, if I tell you. You didn't even think that I'm that stupid that I'll try to commit suicide from the first floor. So, I mean, again, all that is lighter. But the thing is, dude, from the first day onwards, from the first day until date, I have not made any excuse. My mom told me, I have told everyone कि तुम रात में देर से आए थे, फिसल गए सीढ़ी से and all of that. Stick to that story. I said, Mom, I'm not going to do all that. I'm not that kind of person. I mean, you're saying, why don't people gossip? Because I talk a lot about myself. I'm very open about my life. So when I'm sitting over here and I'm telling you that I know I did something wrong for that to happen, I'm taking full responsibility. I'm not even saying. And I'm telling you, I came back home at 1 o'clock that night. I've slept. I've woken up, sleepwalked, and fallen down. Now that sleepwalk is obviously not just on its own as an accident. I must have done something wrong. I must have drank too much, took a sleeping pill, or instead of taking one, overdid it. So those were a couple of wrong things that I was doing at that point in time. If you ask me if I will ever take that sleeping pill again in my life, no, I made a rule for myself that I will not, come what may.
Right.
My wife had this chat with me one day in the hospital. She'll be very angry if I say this, and she'll hear this. She says, Gangaram mein. So obviously, now life, this, that. I said, kya life? Dekhi jayegi life and all. She's like, obviously, you're not going to hang with your same friends who you were hanging with that night. You're not going to drink anymore, are you? I said, hello, I have not changed as a person at all. So if you're thinking I've changed as a person, I don't want you to have these expectations. Once I'm okay, I'm going to drink, I'm going to chill, I'm going to party, I'm going to work, I'm going to do politics, I'm going to do everything I was. But yes, big lesson learned, not to go into any extremes of anything.
Right. That
is one lesson that I will never forget. So obviously, and if I'm the one who's suffering with this, I know what to do and what not to do now. Like it has changed me as a person for the better, I would hope. But gossip and all is part of the whole thing. Yeah, I would have. You would have done the same thing. I would have done.
I just wanted to ask. No, I think there are. We all gossip and there are levels. But I think when your subject comes up, people don't want to shut up. Anyone, and you'd be. And I am a very low-key-ish kind of person, and I'm not in touch with a lot of people. But enough people messaged me. They thought they could WhatsApp me. So you are my brother-in-law and sister's very good friend, and that is our connect. And of course, the families know each other, blah, blah. मुझे message आ रहे थे, and from people I knew, I said, ये देखो, I was showing it to Shanamli, my wife, that ये देखो, ये gossip के लिए ये message कर रहा है.
I'm telling you, क्या gossip I was hearing. 3 of my friends were there. They asked me to fly, so I jumped down, and then they ran away. They left me over there. I said, boss, please, no one was there. I was alone. accident happened, it happened because of me. As simple as that. There was no one involved. There was no other this thing. My dad saying, are you stupid? These kind of arguments between me and my dad would happen every day. It's like a small. He said something about, I was supposed to go to Jaipur that day. And he said, you can't go to Jaipur because of coronavirus.
Right.
Because they were spreading that time. I said, I really want to go. He said, no, you can't do. If you go there, then don't come home for 14 days. That is it. And I was a little upset over there. That's not considered a fun. It happens every day. उसके कारण उनको किसी ने बोल दिया कि रिजू ने, that's why, because he was so upset, he tried to do this thing. I said, dude, I'm not the kind of guy. Firstly, I'm never upset. If I'm not upset right now, what would I be upset about that point in time? And why would I jump from the first floor in the first place? So all these are silly things, just nothing.
No, but I really appreciate you sharing everything so candidly. And this is a podcast in which I've had to speak very little, is because before I could ask you, you already kind of answered those things. I wanted to ask you about post-traumatic stress. If you're going to laugh if I mention that, because I know your answer now, right? You say, what post-traumatic stress? I mean, it doesn't exist. You didn't need any counseling. You didn't need any psychological intervention, which 99.99 people out of 100 would need that in your kind of scenario.
I disagree with you. I needed it. Obviously, I needed it, but I did it in another form. So I think everyone needs external counseling. For me, if I made a list of 20 songs, 20 Bollywood songs and sent it to DJ Gaurav and Khushi, and I was waiting for that one day for that list to come back to me, remixed and all, exclusively for me, which I always had it in my mind that I want to mix like that and all that at the time. Right. And listening to that, I mean, my 5 days were like bliss, just listening to that. Apart from that, I knew that you're in the best hands in the physio center. They are doing the best. What will this one tell me? And I've never been religious in my life. I've never prayed. I've never been spiritual. But only thing I believe is in that, just be chilled out in your head, and believe in the people who you're...
But I think just in that, what you're saying, be chilled out in the head and believe in the people who are trying to help you. It's a very simple line, very, 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 very difficult to do, but you did it. And I think anyone who's going through any experience, as difficult as it may be, should take this message away from this podcast and from your story and your recovery and this. And I know, knowing your determination and what you achieved so far, what you're feeling in your right leg at the moment, it's a matter of a few months. It's going to go away.
That's what they say. That's what my doctor say, that you are 80% recovered right now. Mm-hmm. But you have to be very patient with the balance 20%. Right. It could take 6 months. It could take 12 months. It could take 24 months. Mm-hmm. Because this is what happens in these kind of things, that 80% of the recovery happens very fast. Sure. But the balance 20% takes a lot of time. Okay. So you have to continue with your physio. You have to continue.
You're continuing your physio in Delhi?
I do 1.5 hours of physio every morning. Then I come to office.
You get somebody...
So this guy called Ravis comes to me. There's an institute over here called Dr. Muller's Physio Center. Yeah. So this guy, Ravis Raja, so he had come to me before I went to Switzerland. Okay. And fantastic. I mean, I owe a lot to him. Okay. Even in the last 2 months, the recovery that I've had after coming back to Delhi. Mm-hmm. So I came back to Delhi on a wheelchair and I've not used a wheelchair ever since.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm walking on the stick and this thing. I'm going to the shower on my own. I'm changing clothes. So now I have an attendant, but I don't really need an attendant if I don't want to. Okay. It'll just take me 15 minutes extra to get ready, but I can do everything on my own. And this physio will continue for the next 3 to 6 months at least. And I just have to be patient. One thing I miss is golf. All my friends and everyone is playing golf. So I just hope that I'm able to, in the next 6 to 12 months, get good enough to be able to play golf.
I have no doubt that you will.
I can take a swing. So right now what I can do, if there was a golf stake, I could stand like this. I could take a swing. I could hit it. But
you can't twist. You can't twist.
I could know my right leg doesn't move because it's supposed to move like this. And also my balance, if I hit it really hard, I could probably lose my balance and this thing. So, but again, like you said, I think I'll be able to.
That's I have no doubt. And I wanted to just move on to the second part before we end, because your passion project is, Jawahar Foundation. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and what is it, what are you doing in it, and generally, how can anyone watching,
Right.
listening, if they want to somehow be part of it, participate in any way?
So, obviously 2 years back, politics had always been my passion and I wanted to do something. For some reason, I've always been, as a child or whatever, I was working on it for the last 8-10 years, and I got an opportunity 2 years back to stand for Lok Sabha elections.
Right.
It's a huge thing, even getting a ticket and fighting and all of that. And I got it from the Congress party, which I always wanted. Again.
From Ajmer.
From Ajmer.
Right.
When I walked into Ajmer, I did not know a single person of the party. I landed into a room of 20 people, ye MLA, ye wo, and also it took me 3-4 days to this thing. And then it was like 16 hours a day, morning to evening, 400 villages, big rallies, small rallies, 45 degrees, eating on the floor. But dude, that experience, I would do anything to relive that experience again. Hard work, but the way you see real India, real problems and all of that. So obviously I had made lots and lots of promises ki agar main jeet jaunga to ye karunga, wo karunga and all of that. We were playing to win, but no one had an idea that we were up against such a tsunami and all of us would be wiped out the way we actually got wiped out. So I actually thought till the last day that we have a 30-40% chance of winning probably. I had no idea that the loss is going to be like so massive, but it was, and we accepted. So then what happened was that I said that, I've made all these promises and I want to be active then, even then. I have always hero worshipped. If there's any God for me, I don't believe in religion, but the only gods I would believe in are Mahatma Gandhi and Nehruji.
Right.
So I've read all the books on them. I've seen all the movies, this, that. And I've lost friendships because of that. Because if anyone is very anti them, I'm like so passionate about that particular thing that I just end up disliking the person beyond the point.
Have you met my mother?
Yes, I had massive arguments with my mother on Twitter and all of that, but that's it. Beyond the point, I said. I mean, treat her as healthy arguments are always good.
No,
so,
of course.
Anyway, so and Jawahar is also my son's name, obviously.
Yes.
But as it would have it, I fought with everyone and named my son Jawahar, and I'm so happy I did. And so I started this thing after the election thing called Jawahar Foundation. That the idea was to try and do whatever work I could in my individual capacity as CSR or whatever. So now I'm very happy that in the last 2 years, 1.5, we've really grown and spread our legs over there. We are working mostly in Ajmer and Bhilwara, which is my family kind of this thing where my grandfather started the business from. Right. So we're doing lots of things. I mean, on the ground, smaller projects in terms of skilling projects, teaching kids computers. We've distributed more than 1.5 lakh masks in the Corona time.
Right.
Because we could reach the right people. Then some hospital-related stuff, health-related stuff. So it's all getting collated now. And now, unfortunately, politics for me has taken a little bit of a backseat. And I'm not very happy about it because that is something I cannot do on Zoom.
Right.
I can handle all my business. I can handle all my everything else on Zoom. But politics is something, or, even being involved deeply is something you can only do if you are physically present there. Phone karne se nahi hoga wo. So that, unfortunately, obviously, I have limited energy right now to do stuff. But I'm very clear that I will focus on that as soon as I start feeling better. But through Jawahar Foundation, because of the people we've involved over there and all of that, we are going on doing some good work over there so that at least I stay relevant to the promises that I've made. No one can fault me, the bhag gaye.
And is the Jawahar Foundation planning to do anything in like maybe the wellness or like opening a hospital or some sort of mental health space there?
Not mental health or anything, because again, we are trying to do this. I can talk about, we're trying to do this pilot project in 2 places that 12,000 people in a month can eat food for 1 rupee.
Right.
Open a food kitchen kind of thing in which everyone comes and pays 1 rupee to eat. They don't eat for free. So you eat with respect and pride.
Right.
Because you're paying for it, even if it's 1 rupee, and you get good food, 500 grams of food, whether it is, those number of calories and all of that. So those type of projects I'm trying to start.
Okay.
There's a passion, this thing in me right now that, at some point in time, if given a chance, right now I've not been able to focus because too many things happening. I would love to have some kind of a physiotherapy center in Bhilwara or in Ajmer, because I've seen the wonders that it can do.
So you want to open like a world class?
I mean, India. Let's be very clear with the population that we have and the number. There were 20 of us in Switzerland in that area.
Right.
There were 30 physiotherapists, nurses, doctors combined, and 20 of us in that center.
Yeah,
20.
That's
India
not possible here. Impossible.
India में 2,000 लोग होंगे, because the population is such.
Sure.
So you have to manage it in such a way that even if you would have world, you will not be able to do the same kind of thing at all.
So you want to open a pro bono physiotherapy center, which is decent.
Pro bono, of course. CSR kind of physiotherapy center somewhere. But again, it needs a lot of hard work, a lot of planning and all of that. So I have it in the back of my mind, but I will probably do it in the next 2-3 years. Somewhere. Right now, I'm very here since I've come back last 2 months. I've never been more focused at work. I'm spending so much time at work. And as it were, I have physiotherapy every morning and I'm going out every evening to meet some friend or the other, because I've not done it for so many years. And dinners, like I'm enjoying those dinners with a couple of friends, catching up, someone comes home and all that. There's times of big parties, this, that. I think that's gone, and I personally would not enjoy also that anymore.
I think that's changed for everyone after COVID. Nobody wants to meet lots of people together.
Nobody, and even apart from that, I'm very clear that I'm very happy meeting 3, 4, 5 people every evening, quality conversation, quality food. So, one has kind of matured a bit in the thought process compared to earlier on, when I wanted to be like probably anywhere and everywhere. So I don't want that. So I'm traveling. I went to Bombay for my brother's wedding.
Right, yeah.
I went to Bombay last week again. So all that has started. So you feel normal. So I feel normal. I mean, except for a little bit of back pain that I have and that foot pain and obviously restricted movement. I'm doing almost everything except for golf and evening walks. Except for those things, I'm doing everything possible.
Thank you so much. I have learned so much in maybe just over 1 hour of this conversation, that I'm going to have to debrief in my own head before I actually shoot the conclusion, which is what I usually, and there's so many learnings that can come from this, that have come from this. I think you're an inspiration, and I told you, one more line of work for you, not that you need to start another business, is I think you need to maybe write a book, or you need to become a wellness coach yourself, or maybe, something like what I'm trying to do is have your own maybe podcast, because I don't, unlike maybe a lot of people, I'm not sucking up to you, and I don't need to suck up to you. And I'm saying I've known you for too long, and I don't give a shit. But the truth is, I genuinely feel, and this is why I brought you on, is that the value add that you can provide from just, you're just talking. This was just coming.
I mean, from my
own experience. But you see, no one can claim to have done what you did, because you've already done it. You've already led by example. So you can say, I am telling you this not because it's cool.
Yeah. Like, for example, someone told me that time that, when I was lying, absolutely this thing that, your pain will go away if you do pranic healing. I said, I don't believe in this. I will not do. He kept telling me that you have to do this, you have to do this. So then I asked the person the question that, okay, I'll do it on one condition, that I'll do either that or physiotherapy. You ask me to leave physiotherapy tomorrow, I'll do pranic healing. So then they said, no, you can't leave physiotherapy. I said, then don't ask me to do that. Because, it will not work for me.
Also, see, if you don't believe in something, let's say you didn't believe in physiotherapy or this institute, this nerve regeneration, it would not work for you. You have to have faith in what you're doing, even if it is, let's say you were only doing pranic healing, but you believed in it so much. That's what, if you can say, placebo
mind would believe.
Your mind can heal it on its own. And you have those tools. I think you're very clear.
I'm very clear that whatever works for whoever, there is no right or wrong in this. Someone could do meditation for 4 hours and actually get over the pain and all of that. I could not do that.
Right.
Maybe, and it works for someone, and I totally respect that. So I'm not looking down upon anything that, that person does this and I don't believe in it. Okay, yaar. It's all about the mind. Yaar. Tumhare mind ko jo karke khushi ho. Okay, if my pain goes away by talking to 2 friends on the phone, your pain can go away by meditating for 2 hours.
Sure.
It doesn't mean I'm bad or you are bad or you are right or I'm wrong. Whatever works for your brain works.
There's just too much good stuff that I've got out of this podcast. So thank you once again. More power to you and to Jawahar Foundation. If there is anything little bit I can do in my capacity to
I'll
spread your message or for Jawahar Foundation, please let me know. But thank you for this.
Thank you for staying right to the end of our conversation. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with Riju, and as you can tell if you're seeing and hearing the podcast, I was in awe. I was in awe with the way he's handled the situation that he's been through, an extremely difficult situation in which he nearly lost his life. The learnings are immense, and I want to reiterate some of the learnings that at least I got out of these. Is take responsibility for your actions. Have faith in not only yourself, but in the people around you, your friends and family and well-wishers. Be your own champion. He didn't want to depend on any counselor or psychologist because he didn't believe in that process. So he used his own methods to counsel himself, whether it was music or staying in touch with his friends. He found a coping mechanism. And generally you can see what a positive person he is. And his zest for life is infectious. And I'm so grateful to him to have chosen this platform to come and tell his story the way he has. I know you would have liked this content as well, so do send in your feedback. Take care of yourself. See you soon on the next episode.
Voices in My Head is created and hosted by Yami Radhar. This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. We disclaim responsibility for any adverse effects that may arise from any information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guests' qualifications or credibility. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.